Today on the Downsized News, major developments in the fight for affordable access to GLP-1 medications. Eli Lilly has cut the cash price of Zepbound by up to $100 per month, and new Medicare pricing announcements could reshape what millions pay at the pharmacy counter. But many questions remain about how these changes will actually reach patients. Plus, a global survey reveals that even as GLP-1s dominate headlines here in the United States, most of the world still has never heard of them.
Welcome back to the Downsized News. It's Monday, December 1st, 2025. Thank you for joining us. We're glad you're here. I'm Laraine Durham, and I've lost over 50 pounds using the GLP-1 medication Tirzepatide.
And I'm Christopher Durham. I've lost 100 pounds with GLP-1s, and this is where we talk about what that's really like. The wins, the hard days, and the science behind it all.
Each week, we bring you the latest GLP-1 news from Mounjaro, Zepbound, Wegovy, and Ozempic to the new treatments on the horizon. We look at the research, the policies, and the real stories that affect all of us who are treating the disease of obesity.
If you're new to our channel, welcome. And if you've been with us for a while, welcome back. We're not doctors, and this is not medical advice. We're just sharing what we've learned along the way.
We post new videos every day to help you stay informed, encouraged, and supported. So grab your water, hit that like button, and we'll get started. Your GLP-1 update starts now. In story number one, Eli Lilly today lowered the prices of its weight loss medication Zepbound for consumers who pay cash and purchase the drug directly from the company through LillyDirect. The reductions range from $50 to $100 depending on dose strength and apply to single-dose vials. A month's supply of the 2.5 milligram vial from LillyDirect is now $299. That's down from the previous price of $349. The 5 milligram vial is now $399, down from the previous price of $499. All of the higher doses, including 7.5, 10, 12.5, and 15 milligram vials, are now $449 per month, down from the previous price of $499. So to recap, the new prices for the LillyDirect vials are: for 2.5 milligrams, it's $299. 5 milligrams is $399. 7.5, 10, 12.5, and 15 milligrams are $449. In a statement released today, Ilya Yuffa, president of Lilly USA, said that far too many people who need obesity medications still face cost and coverage barriers. He said the price reductions underscore Lilly's commitment to improving access across the obesity care landscape. Last month, Novo Nordisk announced price reductions for its injectable weight loss and diabetes medications, Wegovy and Ozempic, lowering the price from $349 per month from $499 for the people who purchase directly from the manufacturer, telehealth partners, or retail pharmacies. Novo Nordisk stated that the 2 milligram dose of Ozempic will remain at $499 per month. Lilly and Novo have faced increasing pressure to reduce prices for weight loss and diabetes medications. Earlier this month, the Trump administration announced an agreement under which Medicare would cover Wegovy and Zepbound for older adults beginning in 2026. The announcement included plans to offer discounted versions of the medications through a federal direct-to-consumer website called TrumpRx. Under the agreement, Lilly and Novo Nordisk will sell the medications to Medicare at an average price of $245 per monthly dose, and Medicare beneficiaries will pay a $50 copay. Medicare expects coverage to begin in the spring or summer of 2026, but the execution details remain unclear and many aspects of the plan have yet to be fully defined. Lilly has said that the $50 price for eligible Medicare recipients will also apply to a multi-pen version of Zepbound until Lilly's daily oral obesity medication, or Forglipron, once both products are approved by the Food and Drug Administration. This is a meaningful step forward for affordability and accessibility. Reduction matters for people paying out of pocket, but this is far from the end of the battle. Even with these price cuts, GLP-1 medications remain far too expensive for most of the people who need them, and the path to affordable access is still uncertain.
So some of the media is reporting this is the end of compounding. Does this get prices down enough to end compounding?
compounding is still cheaper. So
By
I don't know.
a good bit.
I don't know why that would be the end. If it were to, I mean, I think when we start talking about $200 a month or $100 a month or $50 a month, then it might give compounding a run for the money.
Do you think compounding will lower prices?
Probably. Yeah. I mean, we'll have to wait and see. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Story number 2, the next major development in drug pricing that could reshape access to some of the most widely used medications in the country. Of course, the ones we talk about all the time, GLP-1s. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services has released the final negotiated prices for the second cycle of drug price negotiations under the Inflation Reduction Act. This round includes 15 high-cost medications, and at the center of national attention are Ozempic, Wegovy, and Rybelsus, 3 GLP-1 drugs that millions rely on for diabetes and obesity treatment. Under the agreement, Medicare will pay $274 per month for Ozempic and Rybelsus and $386 per month for Wegovy starting January 1st, 2027, reflecting an average 71% reduction from current list prices around $1,000 to $1,350 per month. Analysts responded with muted reactions, saying the numbers were largely expected because manufacturers already provide significant confidential rebates. They also emphasized that the most meaningful comparison is not list price versus negotiated price, but negotiated price versus the drug's actual net price after rebates, a number rarely visible to the public. Pfizer was the first major pharmaceutical company to join the Trump Rx program back in September, making drugs like and the migraine spray Zavspret available through the platform. AstraZeneca followed soon after by placing many of its inhalers on the marketplace. But here's where the real-world impact becomes complicated. The negotiated Medicare price is the amount Medicare pays. It does not automatically equal what an individual patient pays at the pharmacy counter. The out-of-pocket costs for patients will vary dramatically depending on insurance coverage, deductibles, copay structure, prior authorization requirements, step therapy requirements, coverage tier placement, and whether a patient is in a Medicare coverage gap. 2 people standing in the same pharmacy line can be charged completely different amounts for the same prescription. So while a price of $274 or $350 might sound like progress, many patients will still face significantly higher costs, and others may still be denied coverage entirely. And for families balancing rent, groceries, childcare, insurance premiums, and medical bills, even $274 every month is simply unaffordable. There is also the reality that rarely appears in policy announcements, even after these historic reductions. Brand name GLP-1 medications remain significantly more expensive than compounded alternatives, which many patients are already turning to because the difference is hundreds of dollars. Whether policymakers acknowledge it or not, economics drive behavior. When the choice is between access and bankruptcy, people will choose the option that allows them to survive. So yes, this is a meaningful step forward, and we love to see real momentum, public pressure, negotiation, and transparency. We love to see GLP-1 medications recognized as essential medical treatment for the chronic disease of obesity. But until access matches need and until affordability is more than a headline, the work we do is not finished. We believe in the science, we believe in the future, we believe that every step forward matters, even the imperfect ones. But patients deserve real access, real affordability, and real choice. We'll be here to make sense of what comes next. Interestingly, the numbers don't align between all of the things, so you would think this number from this announcement would be similar to the White House's numbers. It was like 254, 274. They're not. They're two different numbers.
The prices that people are talking about are confusing, and it's why in the first story I wanted to recap what the prices are now. I mean, they're still very expensive, and like your story just said, if the difference is between access and bankruptcy, well, I mean, you have to feed your family, you have to keep a roof over your head. You know, if the choice is between a GLP-1 medication and buying groceries, well, you know, there's no contest there.
Yep.
Now to a new global survey that reveals something surprising about the awareness of GLP-1 medications around the world. The 7th edition of the Ipsos Global Health Service Report, released this week, found that even as GLP-1 drugs dominate headlines and social media in some countries, most people across the world have still never heard of them. According to the report, only 36% of people across 30 countries say they have heard of GLP-1 medications such as Ozempic, Wegovy, Zepbound, Rybelsus, or Mounjaro. Awareness is highest in the United States, where 74% of people say they have heard of these drugs. But in many countries, the awareness rate is dramatically lower. Colombia ranked last in the survey, where only 9% of respondents reported knowing about GLP-1s. One of the most interesting findings from the report is how people are learning about these medications. Among those who are aware of GLP-1s, 45% say they first heard about them through social media, while only 19% heard about them from a medical professional. That means platforms like TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook are driving the majority of the conversation, not doctors, not researchers, and not traditional healthcare channels. The report also found that mental health remains the #1 public health concern globally. 45% of people say mental health is the most pressing health challenge in their country, continuing its position at the top for the third straight year, and up significantly from 27% in 2018. Overall, 43% of people rate the quality of health care they have access to as good, while 22% say the care they receive is poor. Malaysia reported the highest satisfaction levels, with 75% describing their care as good, while Hungary reported the lowest at 12%. And when asked about the future, only 28% believe their healthcare system will improve in the coming years. For those of us deeply engaged in this space, where GLP-1 medications are transforming the treatment of the chronic disease of obesity and type 2 diabetes, it can feel like the entire world is talking about these medications. But the reality is that outside the most advanced economies, most people have never heard of GLP-1s, never been offered one, never seen an option outside of the stigma of just try harder, and are living without access to care that could change their lives. If only 36% of the world has even heard of GLP-1s, then global access has not even begun. If social media is the primary source of information instead of medical professionals, then education and clinical integration still have a very long way to go. And if awareness maps to economic privilege, then the inequality in obesity treatment is larger than any of us like to admit. As more research is published, more trials complete, more pricing negotiations unfold, and more access pathways open, we hope the conversation expands far beyond wealthy nations and online trend cycles. Real progress will be measured not by how loudly influencers talk about GLP-1s, but by how many people worldwide can actually receive them and afford them. Because awareness is the first step, access is the second, and affordability is the goal.
So the other piece that I found interesting about this piece of research, the marketing and the advertising that we see so often really doesn't happen in most of these countries, and
Right.
It wasn't even a blip in this study.
Yeah, most people are still getting their information from social media, not from their doctor. I know I didn't get any information from my doctor. I got it from a friend.
Story number 4, a major update today in the fast-moving world of GLP medications and obesity care. Novo Nordisk has submitted a request to the FDA asking for approval of a new higher dose Wegovy, 7.2 milligrams, which the company says offers the potential for greater weight loss than the currently available doses, which range from 0.25 milligrams up to 2.4 milligrams. What makes this filing so notable is the speed at which Novo Nordisk is hoping to move. The company is seeking what's called an extra fast review through the FDA's Commissioner's National Priority Voucher Program. This program is designed to fast-track drugs addressing serious unmet medical needs, reducing review time from the typical 10 to 12 months or 6 to 8 months with standard priority review down to just 1 to 2 months. The request is supported by data from the Phase 3 Step-Up trial. In that study, people taking the 7.2 milligram dose of Wegovy for 72 weeks achieved average weight loss of 20.7%. That compares to 17.5% for the standard 2.4 milligram Wegovy dose and 2.4% for placebo. Additional analysis from the study showed that 33.2% of participants on the highest dose lost 25% or more of their body weight, compared to 16.7% on the 2.4 milligram dose. no one on placebo reached that level of weight loss. A similar regulatory filing is under review with the European Medicines Agency, with a decision expected in the first quarter of 2026. If approved, this new dose could reshape the competitive landscape in obesity care and intensify the race between Novo Nordisk, Eli Lilly, and a growing number of emerging competitors. It also adds fuel to the conversation about access and affordability, especially at a moment when negotiated Medicare prices and direct pay discount programs are changing pricing expectations. The science is advancing at remarkable speed, from semaglutide to tirzepatide to multi-pathway drugs like amycretin and retatrutide, but higher doses also raise serious questions about cost, coverage, and who gets access. For many people living with the disease of obesity, the hardest part is not the science. It's being able to afford treatment and stay on treatment long enough to benefit. That's the heart of this story. So it's coming probably in the next couple of months, and it can hit the levels of weight loss that Zepbound Mounjaro does.
The higher dose of Wegovy.
Now, the side effects are a little rough.
That's what we hear.
But Novo's trying to compete.
Yeah. In story number 5, an important study published this week in JAMA is raising new questions about how discontinuing GLP-1 medications affects pregnancy outcomes. The study is titled Gestational Weight Gain and Pregnancy Outcomes After GLP-1 Receptor Agonist Discontinuation, and it was published online November 24th, 2025. The researchers examined almost 150,000 singleton pregnancies delivered between June 1st, 2016 and March 31st, 2025 inside the Mass General Brigham Health System. Out of those, 655 pregnancies involved exposure to GLP-1 medications either before or shortly after conception. After applying exclusions and using propensity score matching, 448 exposed pregnancies were compared with 1,344 unexposed pregnancies for the primary analysis. The findings were striking. Individuals who used a GLP-1 before pregnancy and then stopped had about 30 pounds or 13.7 kilograms of gestational weight gain on average, compared to 23 pounds or 10.5 kilograms in the matched group who had never used a GLP-1. That's a 13-pound difference. The study also found considerably higher rates of excess gestational weight gain, 65% versus 49%, and higher risk of complications, including preterm delivery at 17% versus 13%, gestational diabetes at 20% versus 15%, and hypertensive disorders of pregnancy at 46% versus 36%. There were no differences between the groups in rates of cesarean delivery, birth length, or infants being large or small for gestational age. The researchers note that GLP-1 receptor agonists are not recommended during pregnancy because animal studies have shown fetal risks, including structural abnormalities and growth restriction. Because of these concerns, most people discontinue GLP-1s either before conception or as soon as they learn they are pregnant. But discontinuation is known to cause rapid weight regain and worsening glycemic control outside of pregnancy. The study suggests the same may be true during pregnancy. The authors highlight why this matters. Optimizing weight and blood sugar before pregnancy is strongly recommended because obesity and diabetes increase the risk of complications for both mother and baby. Excess gestational weight gain is already linked to higher risks of preterm birth, hypertensive disorders, and long-term metabolic disease in offspring. And because use of GLP-1 medications has grown rapidly among women of reproductive age, this transition period could become a major clinical challenge. The study also found a higher average birth weight percentile, 58% versus 54% in the exposed group, though the clinical meaning of that difference is not fully understood. The researchers caution that more data are needed on what happens after delivery, including whether individuals who stop GLP-1s before pregnancy experience more long-term weight retention and whether there are programming effects on children independent of birth weight. The authors also noted limitations, including the fact that the study population is older and less diverse than the broader U.S. population and may not reflect patients with limited access to care. Even so, they say the results highlight a real need for guidance and support when GLP-1 therapy must be paused for pregnancy. For many patients, the study reinforces the tension between the benefits of GLP-1s for treating obesity and diabetes and the reality that they remain contraindicated in pregnancy. It also raises important questions about how to help people safely transition off treatment without significant weight rebound or elevated medical. I mean, this story was not at all surprising. So people who had been on the GLP-1 and then stopped or stopped right after they got pregnant gained more weight during pregnancy. Well, of course, because they probably have the disease of obesity to start with and are more likely or more predisposed to gain weight during pregnancy. So, I don't think we know how these GLP-1 drugs affect pregnancies and babies. So, of course, I've had 3 children. I stopped everything. I didn't drink sodas, I didn't have artificial sweeteners, I didn't color my hair. There were lots of things that you don't take. You don't take Advil when you're pregnant. So I don't think it's unreasonable to say discontinue GLP-1 use during pregnancy. And if you're breastfeeding, I wouldn't take a GLP-1 either. But but when the mother gets her body back and her, it is not in a baby making mode.
Not making a person anymore.
Right. When you're no longer making a person, women can definitely go back to a GLP-1 and have the success that they had before. I think, that's all I have to say.
Well, it's shifting priorities, right? You're shifting from weight loss and your personal health to
what's good
making
for the
a human
baby.
being.
Right.
So
and they haven't really connected, GLP-1 use pre-pregnancy to any harm with babies. So that is a big plus and something people need to take away.
It is. Story number 6. A closely watched pair of clinical trials has delivered disappointing results for Novo Nordisk and for a scientific theory that generated a great deal of excitement over the last several years. On Monday, Novo announced that 2 major phase 3 studies evaluating semaglutide for the treatment of Alzheimer's disease did not meet their primary goal. The trials, called EVOKE and EVOKE Plus, enrolled more than 3,800 people with early-stage Alzheimer's. The goal was to see whether semaglutide could preserve brain function and slow disease progression. After 2 years of treatment and follow-up, Novo reported that semaglutide was not significantly better than placebo in measuring cognitive decline. And although the drug improved certain biological markers linked to Alzheimer's, it did not delay the progression of the disease. As a result, Novo is ending the planned 1-year extension periods of both studies. The company did not release detailed numbers, but said high-level results will be shared December 3rd at a medical meeting in San Diego, followed by full data in March. These trials were widely viewed as one of the strongest tests yet of the theory that GLP-1 medications, known for transforming obesity and type 2 diabetes treatment and improving cardiovascular outcomes, might also be able to protect the brain from neurodegeneration. Earlier work suggested that GLP-1 drugs might reduce inflammation in the brain, prevent the buildup of damaged proteins, and improve insulin signaling, a pathway tied to appetite, mood, and memory. A previous mid-stage study of liraglutide also missed its primary endpoint, though it hinted at small cognitive and structural effects. Novo's chief scientific officer, Martin Holst Lang, said the company felt a responsibility to explore semaglutide's potential because of the enormous unmet need of Alzheimer's. He said Novo is proud to have completed 2 rigorous phase 3 trials in this space. The market reacted sharply. Novo shares trading on the New York Stock Exchange were down 8% by mid-Thursday, falling to just under $44 per share. Analysts noted that expectations were already low, given how challenging Alzheimer's drug development has historically been. Some said the results could even benefit competitors like Biogen, whose Alzheimer drug Leqembi is already approved, by reducing competitive pressure. But Alzheimer's researchers cautioned that the biomarker improvements seen in the studies still matter. Howard Phillott of the Alzheimer's Drug Discovery Foundation noted that current anti-amyloid drugs only slow cognitive decline by about 30%, and that new mechanisms, including metabolic and inflammatory pathways, will be essential to address the remaining 70%. Not every study will be a breakthrough. Not every hypothesis will deliver the answer researchers hope for. But this kind of work pushes the science forward. It teaches us what doesn't work so we can find what does. For the millions of patients using GLP-1 medications, research like this matters because every trial expands our understanding of how profoundly interconnected metabolic health is with the rest of the body. If we want new answers, we need big swings. We need scientists unafraid to test bold ideas, even when the results are disappointing. They shape the next discovery, and we truly believe the GLP-1 story is just getting started. We love to see researchers continue to explore, learn, and build new paths forward because that is how progress happens.
Yeah, that's so disappointing that Semaglutide worked no better than placebo for Alzheimer's.
It can't work for everything. It feels like it some days, but it can't.
And boy, I bet it seems like if it had been slightly better, we would have heard about it. But to get nothing back, that's really disappointing. And story number 7, and now to a story that sounds almost unbelievable, but it is very real and gaining momentum. GLP-1 medications might soon be coming to the world of veterinary medicine. A biotech company called Axton has launched new clinical research at Cornell University's College of Veterinary Medicine to study a once-weekly GLP-1 protein therapy designed to help overweight cats safely manage their weight. The trial will last roughly 3 months and will enroll 70 domestic cats. I wonder if they had to sign a waiver for that, the cats.
How do they hold a pen with their thumb?
With the option to expand to 140 based on early results. The therapy uses Atkins' proprietary FC fusion protein platform, which allows the company to design and test biologic therapies more quickly, more cost-effectively, and with longer duration of action. Axton is also developing a similar GLP-1 program for dogs, which is currently about 6 months behind the feline program. Cats lead the way, I guess. The company says the goal is to give veterinarians a tool that doesn't currently exist. According to CEO Todd Zion, obesity is one of the most common yet least effectively treated health issues in veterinary medicine. By advancing a once-weekly GLP-1 therapy, we're addressing a real unmet need and aiming to give cats the chance at longer, healthier lives. In preclinical studies conducted at Cornell University in laboratory cats, the therapy showed no adverse effects or unexpected safety concerns. Researchers say enthusiasm from pet owners is extremely high, and Cornell is actively screening participants for enrollment. And the need appears significant. Data from the Association for Pet Obesity Prevention shows that 61% of U.S. cats were classified as overweight or obese in 2022. In this year's APOP Pet Weight and Nutrition Opinion Survey, 33% of cat owners categorized their own cats as overweight or obese, up from 28% in 2023. The industry describes this growth as part of a larger trend known as pet humanization, where owners expect medical, nutritional, and wellness options for their pets that mirror human health care. If successful, Axton believes this therapy could unlock a major new market for companion animal obesity treatment, one that has historically relied on restrictive diets, low success behavioral interventions, and very limited pharmaceutical support. We're watching the impact of GLP-1 medications change human healthcare in real time, fundamentally shifting the way obesity is understood and treated. Now that same innovation may be extending to the animals we live with and love. The fact that researchers are exploring GLP-1s for pets underscores how powerful this class of medications is and how deeply obesity affects both human and animal health. It also shows how early we still are in understanding the full potential of this science. If we're at a point where GLP-1 therapies could help a cat live longer, healthier years, it makes you wonder what's coming next for humans and how far this breakthrough could reach.
Well, so I wonder what their technology is. They gave it a name, but they didn't tell you what it.
I would assume it's a shot that they give a cat. They can't make a cat swallow a pill, not easily.
Well, you can. It's just not easy.
It's just not easy. No, I'm sure it would be an injection. And it's interesting because, just thinking about with humans, the relationship between food and obesity, you'd think a cat, well, you're the one feeding it, you restrict its food, it should lose weight, but I guess that's not always the case.
JoJo's very svelte. She does not need this.
I wonder if the kitty gets side effects like nausea. How would you know? JoJo, do you feel okay?
Hard to say. A big update today from Novo Nordisk in the race to develop the next generation of diabetes and weight loss medications. The company has announced new phase 2 trial results for a drug called Amycretin, and the early data shows very strong results for people living with type 2 diabetes. Amycretin is a new kind of medication that works on two pathways at the same time, the GLP-1 pathway and the amylin pathway. The goal is to improve blood sugar control and support weight loss more effectively than current drugs. It is being developed in both a once-weekly injection and a once-daily pill. The phase 2 trial included 448 adults with type 2 diabetes who are not getting good results with their current treatment. Even with metformin or an SGLT2 inhibitor, participants received Amycretin or a placebo for up to 36 weeks. Here are the results. The injectable version of Amycretin lowered HbA1c, that is the key marker of long-term blood sugar, by up to minus 1.8%, and 89% of people reached an HbA1c below 7%, which is considered very good control. The pill version lowered HbA1c by up to minus 1.5%, and 77.6% of people reached below 7%. Meanwhile, the placebo groups only dropped by minus 0.2% and minus 0.4%, so the difference is significant. The weight loss results were also impressive. People on the injectable version lost up to 14.5% of their body weight over 36 weeks, compared with only 2.6% for placebo. People taking the pill lost up to 10.1% compared with 2.5% on placebo. And importantly, weight loss had not reached a plateau by week 36, meaning the numbers may continue to improve over longer treatment. Amycretin appeared to be safe with side effects mostly mild stomach-related symptoms similar to other GLP-1 medications. Novo Nordisk says these results suggest Amycretin could become a best-in-class therapy. The company plans to move into phase 3 studies in 2026 and eventually test Amycretin for both type 2 diabetes and obesity. We are watching the science move faster than ever. First, we saw single pathway drugs like Semaglutide, then dual agonist drugs like Tirzepatide, and now new multi-pathway medicines like Amycretin. Every step brings us closer to better outcomes and more options. The challenge now is not the science. It's making sure people can access these medications and afford them. Breakthroughs only matter when they reach the people who need them.
That is true.
2027, 2028, probably.
Amycretin. Mm-hmm. All right, we'll look for that. A new study published this week is shining a spotlight on a fast-growing trend among new mothers. More women are turning to GLP-1s to lose weight after giving birth. Health experts are warning that we still know very little about how these drugs interact with the postpartum body or whether they are safe during breastfeeding. The research, published Monday in JAMA Network and led by a team from the University of Southern Denmark, examined prescription patterns between 2018 and 2024. The findings show a dramatic rise. In 2018, there were fewer than 5 GLP-1 prescriptions per 10,000 women after giving birth. By 2024, that number surged to 173 prescriptions per 10,000 women, meaning nearly 2% of all mothers received a GLP-1 weight loss medication during the postpartum period. Researchers noted that most of these women had not used GLP-1s before pregnancy, and their body mass index at the time of prescribing strongly suggested that the primary motivation was weight reduction. As anyone who has lived through it knows, postpartum is already a time of massive physical and emotional change. Women typically lose about 13 pounds immediately during delivery, and even more weight over the days that follow due to fluid loss. Hormones shift dramatically as estrogen and progesterone decrease and oxytocin and prolactin rise, particularly for those who breastfeed. But what remains is unclear how GLP-1 drugs impact these natural postpartum processes. One of the study investigators told MedPage that GLP-1 medications have quickly become reality in postpartum care despite significant unknowns, and clinical experts are urging caution. Dr. Jonathan Zepersky, a clinical pharmacologist and toxicologist at the University of Toronto, told the New York Times that we simply do not know how weight loss medications interact with postpartum physiology or whether they interfere with natural recovery. There is also very limited research on whether GLP-1 medications enter breast milk or what the effects might be for nursing infants. A 2024 report in the Canadian Medical Association Journal concluded that GLP-1s are unlikely to enter breast milk in high concentrations and would likely break down in a baby's digestive system. But because this evidence is early and incomplete, experts say breastfeeding women should avoid these medications out of caution. As Dr. Zepersky put it, I think that out of an abundance of caution, they should not be used in breastfeeding. These medications are transforming the treatment of obesity and type 2 diabetes, and they're giving millions of people hope where diets and exercise alone have repeatedly failed. But as more people turn to GLP-1s earlier in life stages, questions about timing, safety, and medical guidance become even more urgent. Postpartum care is complex. It is exhausting, emotional, and often undersupported. If 2% of new mothers already feel pressure or desperation strong enough to turn to GLP-1 medication without clear guidance, then the system around them is failing. Women deserve answers backed by real data, not assumptions. They deserve support and not shame. And they deserve access to care that recognizes postpartum health as part of lifelong health, not an afterthought. More research is needed. Amen, sisters. I mean, it's probably not in the breast milk and the baby. Even if it got to the baby, it wouldn't last in the baby's stomach, but they're not really sure, so why take a chance? But absolutely, as soon as I was done breastfeeding, you better know I would be right back on that GLP-1. I mean, I struggled for years. I gained almost 100 pounds with some of my pregnancies. And it took literally years to lose the weight afterwards. So, let's get women the help they need.
Well, that's the second story about women today, so I like to see more emphasis on that for sure. I've got girls, and we need to take care of them. So,
well, everybody's got a mother.
Yeah. All right, our final story of the day. We're following an important new development in GLP-1 research. According to new data from Global Data, 2025 is now the biggest year ever recorded for GLP-1 clinical trials, with 16.4% of all GLP-1 trials in history taking place this year alone. That means nearly 1 out of every 6 trials ever conducted is happening right now. It is a dramatic acceleration. Researchers say the surge comes from stronger investment, faster study starts, and far fewer trial cancellations than prior years. What once took years to initiate is now moving forward in a matter of months as a global demand continues to grow. The United States is leading the world in GLP-1 trial activity, conducting 34.1% of all trials. China follows with 27.2%, then Japan at 12.6%, Germany at 12.4%, and Canada at 9.3%. And these trials stretch far beyond diabetes and obesity. Many are focused on cardiovascular outcomes, metabolic disease, and advanced combination therapies that activate multiple hormonal pathways. At the center of this surge are the 2 dominant companies in the GLP-1 space, Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk. Eli Lilly has initiated the highest number of new GLP-1 trials in 2025, expanding rapidly across both injectable and oral innovation. Novo Nordisk continues to drive commercial leadership. Ozempic generated more than 120 million Danish kroners, which is $18.59 billion in sales in 2024, making it the most successful product in the company's history. Meanwhile, the first major oral GLP-1 medication, Semaglutide, sold as Rybelsus, continues to shape the push towards pill-based therapies, and next-generation molecules like tirzepatide, which activates both GLP-1 and GIP receptors, are redefining metabolic treatment and setting the stage for combination therapies with even stronger results. For For patients, this moment matters. Only 12% of Americans have ever used a GLP-1 medication, which means more than 80% of people living with the chronic disease of obesity have never had access or cannot afford treatment or simply do not know these medications exist. Every new trial represents more options, more evidence, more availability, and more pressure on insurers and employers to stop treating obesity care like a luxury. So imagine walking into your doctor's office next year and hearing the words, "There's something new. It works. It's easy to take, and you can afford it." That future is being built right now in real-time research centers all over the world. If this is what 5 years of progress looks like, what will the next 5 bring? And that's the latest on global GLP-1 clinical trial surge. It's a gold rush. They're all going, we can be trillion-dollar companies right now if we have the drugs.
Yeah, Eli Lilly is now like the richest drug maker ever of all time. Yeah, so 5 years from now, you have unexpected weight gain, you go into your doctor's going to say, "Oh, take this pill. Let me know how it works. Come back in 30 days. It works. I mean, wouldn't that be amazing instead of being told, well, you just need to diet and exercise.
And it costs you $25 for the month.
Yeah, and being able to afford it. Wouldn't that also be amazing?
That wraps up this edition of the Downsized News. If you're looking for tools and ideas to help on your GLP-1 adventure, head over to our website, thedownsized.org. You'll find links to our GLP-1 Amazon store, our Downsized email list, and even details about our 2026 Downsized at Sea cruise.
Make sure you hit like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell so you stay informed on all the GLP-1 news. We explain the science in plain English and share what's really happening with us as we continue our own GLP-1 adventures. I'm Laraine Durham.
And I'm Christopher Durham, and we are the Downsized.